Am I just dreaming? I love you so much that it's dripping but my heart's in such. I'm sorry, I know I'm too much to love to trust. I'm nothing but.
Welcome. These are the new YouTube videos and how they're going to be set up. I'm excited because this brings back a lot of what I did in school. And this whole YouTube series is going to be bringing back the research and principles that I used and was super passionate about at that time too. So if you know my background, I was a college basketball player. Was terrible when I was growing up. I played multiple sports, but I was always super passionate about basketball. I had a love for not only the basketball game, but the training part. I really loved the training part. Like even throughout college, throughout high school, I had a feeling that I was going to be a basketball trainer. I always wanted aspirations of the NBA. I ended up getting the height and everything for it. But I was really, really passionate about the training. So much so that like in my last year, I recorded a 42-inch vertical. Like I was obsessed with the training aspect, the sports performance, the athletic performance. And then even in school, I got myself a master's in kinesiology. Like I went to school for 7 years. My last 2 years, I did a master's where I interviewed Olympians. I worked with big physiotherapists with their own textbooks. I was like entrenched in it. And then this was all before my social media journey. My social media journey, I started with a social media page called Be Well Workouts. It was literally just sports performance training. And those videos, I don't think any of them got above 10K views. But it was on an Instagram page. I posted them like every single day. It was like how to jump higher, how to get bigger legs, how to get a bigger teardrop in your leg, how to reduce your knee pain. All the time. And none of those videos ended up doing well until I started building the personal brand of which is Be Well now. It all started off with this one book, and it was COVID. Stuff was shutting down, and I wasn't playing good in college. I was like the 13th or 12th string off the bench. And COVID hit, and I remember I had this book that I got when I was really young. It's a Tim Grover book. If you're familiar with Tim Grover, he's the trainer for Michael Jordan. And I got this book when I was in Hawaii with my family when I was really young. I just got it because I was like, oh, Michael Jordan, really cool. I never read it though. I remember skimming through it and thinking like, oh, those training programs tough. It's tough. I don't know if I can take it on right now. But I uncovered this book again. I'm like, shoot, let's just give it a shot. It was full of isometrics and really unorthodox training methodologies. Very different than like what I was doing in the weight room at the time. Incredibly fascinated me because I went through the 3-month program and my vertical increased dramatically, like so significantly. And that was my first taste at, whoa, you can really influence your athletic ability. Because before that, I think I had a 29, 30-inch vertical. After that program, I had like a 35, 36, and I was almost throwing between the leg dunks at like 6'3". That book alone sparked an entire influx of just like my whole day was consumed with sports performance and athletic performance. Some of these books down here, if you're familiar with super training, you're a real one, Verkhoshansky, thick textbook of this Russian training scientist during like the 1980s, 1970s Olympics. And I nonstop podcasts, listening to how to improve my tendon strength. I was entrenched in it, and this is what helped my basketball performance throughout my college years. During this time though, I was really obsessed with lifting weights and looking the part as well. I notoriously, when I was playing basketball at UBC, would only train my shoulders and my biceps because if I trained my triceps, it would hurt my jump shot. But I really wanted to have aesthetic looking arms when I was on the court. So it was this balance of performance along with aesthetic that obviously performance ended up winning out because you can't have aesthetic if you want to be at a high level when it comes to sport. But at the end of the day, it ended up hurting my hip quite a bit because I was so obsessed with the sports performance piece that this one exercise, I'm convinced that this is the hypothesis for why my hip got hurt, is that I was doing so much anterior explosive training. So like when you want a quick acceleration, I'm gonna nerd out for a sec. When you want a quick acceleration, you're gonna do a ton of like quad speed strength work. And what that is like I would do a split squat or just a regular barbell squat, but like really fast down and really fast up, just in like the last quarter of the movement. And all that would be biasing my quads because if you have really strong quads with that fast twitch, and force production, you're going to have a really fast first step. And what that triggered was a lot of anterior orientation of my femurs in my pelvis. They twisted inwards. And because of that, it was a lot of scraping bone on bone in my femur, and that's what ended up causing this issue in my hip, which is FAI. Message like some of the best researchers in the world, because I'm very against like the surgical piece, because if you get surgery for this, all the evidence is saying it's 50-50. The real change is if you can get the muscles to pull that bone back into an orientation, the posterior orientation that makes it healthy. Knowing that I had this peak interest, like this picture here, I was playing college basketball, but I was also like trying the model for Gymshark at the time. Didn't have a lot of muscle, it was more like the athletic muscle, but I really liked the aesthetic piece as well, and always did. I always liked looking at the Gymshark athletes of the past and being like, I wish I could be in their position at some point. And when this injury happened, this was kind of the spark. This is when I really started to push like the aesthetic side, because I really enjoyed it. It was one of those places where in sports, you can do as much as you want, but there's always going to be as much as you want in terms of like training and recovery and eating and all those things, but there's always going to be external stimuluses or external constraints. As in a coach, politics in the sport, sometimes you won't always get your way. You think about, you could be the best player on the court, but if the coach's son is on the court, you might not get a sniff, right? Something like the gym, it's all in your control. And that's one thing that I found so fascinating and exciting about the sports performance side, or the athletic side, or the aesthetic side, is that it's all on me. The only determinant or the only constraint is really how much money you have to buy food, because nutrition is such an important aspect. And when I was first starting, I was eating lots of just cans of tuna. I didn't have a lot of money, but now I'm in a spot where I'm fortunate enough that like I can purchase the things that will continue making my aesthetic better. Now, here's the problem. I got that master's degree in sports performance. Like that's all I know. And it translates a little bit to aesthetic, but it wasn't like the be all end all. And as soon as I got into the content side, when I was making videos nonstop and I was trying to grow my social media following and influence and try and help as many people as possible, I stopped learning and growing, and now my research and understanding of where aesthetics and muscle growth and all those things are is behind 2 to 3 years. And I had this realization the other day, and I'm like, I told myself that I would always be up to date with the latest research. And I'm doing myself a disservice, as well as the people that are inspired and are motivated by me, because I need to be able to give the best stuff possible. This is what I've currently been doing. Some of it's still perfectly fine. You can do all these things and still get a really good physique. That's what I did. But it's not optimal. And some of the things I'd like to touch on here is the high volume, low frequency. I've been running a PPL split. I've been putting Smolov Russian high volume training on top of it. A lot of volume. And I found good success with it. When I played basketball, when I played other sports, you're training so much. So your body's already adapted to a high stimulus, high volume. So I already could adapt to it well. And I always found if I tried to give a low volume, high frequency thing a chance, it just didn't really work out for me. On the nutrition side, I've always been a protein maxer, which is not ideal. Everybody talks about you want high protein in order to stimulate muscle protein synthesis, the ability to grow more muscle. But if you don't have adequate carbs and fats for your hormonal balance, you're not going to have optimal muscle growth. So those two, along with, this is a key one that I've been promoting quite a bit that doesn't have a lot of scientific backing in the last 2 to 3 years with some of the new papers, is the smaller spaced out meals. You could have 3 meals with 180 grams of protein, or you could have 6 meals with 180 grams of protein, all spaced apart, and you'd still get the same amount of stimulus. You might even get more from those 3. And then finally, rest. Rest has always been constant, like the idea that 1 day a week I would rest, I would ensure sleep's optimal, and then finally I would deload after weeks that I needed like a lot more rest. Now, knowing this, I want to make a change. And I want to make a new program, and I'm going to follow a new program that will lead me towards my next goals. If I look at my physique right now, it's pretty good. I'll take it. I've worked quite hard on it in the last year and a bit. But my back thickness and back width need to get bigger. If I want the aesthetic piece of if I can do a front Y or the back one, I don't know what it's called, like I'm not familiar with this jargon, I need that stuff more. So I need to increase the frequency there. Second priority is upper chest. I never trained chest when I was in athletics just because it's extra weight that you don't need. So I've slowly been starting to build it over the last year and a half, but I need to get it more. The second priority as well is athletic legs. I want to bring back that aesthetic looking athletic legs that my long legs can hold on to. I don't want them too bulky. I want it to look like I can still jump and move even though my hip's quite bothered. And then third is my traps. I never trained traps because I like the idea of it being flat so then your shoulders look larger. But I'm realizing as I put on more muscle everywhere else, this is starting to lack. And now here's the program. I'm taking inspiration from a lot of people online. I'm also switching to an upper-lower split for the higher frequency. If you look at someone like Clark Kent, he popularized in the last bit like this infinity split, where you can continue the training without rest days, and you only choose to do rest days if you feel like your body needs it. I'm at the point in training where I've been doing this for 9-10 years, where I know when my body needs a rest, so I'll periodically add it in there when I need to. I'm gonna have biased days for each of the upper and lower. So on an upper day, it might be biasing my chest, or it might be biasing my back. And when I say biasing, that means the very first and second exercises are gonna be focused on that movement, because that's when I'm the most fresh and I can produce the most force without fatigue. As soon as I get those ones out of the way, I'm still gonna do every other muscle group for that upper or for that lower, but I'm not gonna get as much juice out of it. The calories, this is my maintenance plus around 200 or 300 calories. I'm gonna go slight lean bulk. The way I got this number is I put in a TDEE calculator online. There's tons of free ones. You put in your age, your weight, your height, and then you say how active you are on a daily basis, and then it's gonna spit out a number. If you wanna bulk, and lean bulk I recommend is you wanna go like 300 to 500 above your maintenance every single day. If you wanna cut, 300 to 500 below that maintenance every single day. And then the recommendations for protein, carbs, and fats, the latest literature is proteins is 2.2 grams per kilogram of body weight. Based on my body weight, which is 108 kilograms, I'm gonna be having 235 grams of protein per day, which is 25% of my macros. The fats, I then have 1 gram per kilogram of body weight, which equates to 26%, which is 110 grams. And then the carbs fill out the rest. And that's gonna be 47%, which is 442 grams. You can equate this very easily, and if you need help in the comments, I'm happy to help. But this is gonna be the plan. And the last thing that really excites me, and it brings me back to my sports performance times, is I was obsessed with isometrics. And isometrics is basically working on the tendon. So if I have my bicep right here, I have a tendon that connects here and up here on either side of the muscle. And that is the thing that allows you to be explosive and have strength, as well as ensure that you don't have injuries. If I can maximize my ability to keep those things healthy as I build this muscle, I'm gonna be in a really good spot. And that's what this blue one's for. Every 6 workouts, I'm gonna add an isometric rest day. This is where I pick 3 to 4 exercises. I do 30 to 45 second holds for those exercises, and I build that tendon strength. Because I'm not already in pain, I don't need this frequency to be very high. I just need it to be able to maintain and ensure that this stuff stays healthy as I train. So this is the plan right now. I'm excited for you guys to be a part of it and follow the journey. I'm gonna be posting these hopefully 1 to 2 times a week, as well as further videos. I'll be sharing my progress, as well as sharing my habit stacking. This is where I share some research on some supplements or some new techniques or some new training that I recommend that you guys give a shot. I also might be testing some of these things, but it all goes back to this habit stacking where I can see the application of adding it to my life. If it's something that's overbearing and would take away from things and not be a benefit, then I would share it with you guys, but I'm gonna test it first. So, hope you guys have a great one. I appreciate you if you've made it through this whole video.
dreaming. I love you so much that it's dripping, dripping